Great to be on the campus. I've been in touch, as I just told, I've been in touch with Webster University in Vienna when I lived there for a couple of years. And the Webster in Vienna is considered to be one of the best business schools in Austria, and very, very highly kind of ranked, and it's one of the best places to go for youngsters if they want to. I think you hear me, right? Yeah, so. Oops. That's why it's good to be here too. My profile, in short, is that I'm in Uzbekistan. I'm the chairman of 2 institutions. One of them became quite well known recently, which is TBC Uz. We call it the app, TBC Bank Uzbekistan. We have approximately 1.2 million downloads already in almost a year of commercial presence. Commercial presence is the presence where you advertise and when you attract the customers. And I'm also the chairman of a very well-known business which is called PayMe, and I'm sure many of you are using PayMe, right? As you may know, TBC became the majority shareholder of PayMe back in 2019, and accordingly I became the chairman of PayMe too. In short, basically now we count approximately 5.5 million customers in Uzbekistan, which is for us impressive because Georgia is just 3.7 million population. So we have twice as much people using our services in Uzbekistan than people living in Georgia. And this is very impressive. We would have never achieved it in Georgia because the birth rate should have gone up dramatically, which is somehow, I think, unachievable. So that's why we're very thankful to be in Uzbekistan, and once more, thanks for inviting me here. When I asked the guys what they would like to listen or hear from me, basically the topic was culture, which is great. The board is coming. And corporate branding. And it is cool that the team somehow linked these 2 concepts together, because I personally think that these 2 concepts are very much linked, and in practice, we are, let me help you, right? Yeah, sure. Все, супер, один. Давай я. Все, спасибо. So, yeah. And I'll try to explain why these 2 are linked, and why these 2 are, I would say, maybe the top 3, 4 most important things when running a business. And there is an important thing that this is valid for all businesses, basically, regardless of size, regardless of scale, the industry, life cycle stage, or whatever, So now I'll try to jump into these topics, but before I jump directly, I will try to build a sequence of concepts where, and honestly, whatever I'm saying, everything is practice. There is nothing theoretical behind it. So I'm not bringing something, a framework, or something which is from textbook. I'm not against textbooks, but I'm a practitioner for the last 20 years. And basically, this is what I will be telling you is basically coming from the practice, daily practice we exercise in our group. And this is how we plan strategically ourselves. This is how we basically run the company. So that's why, when you hear something and you think it's a framework, it is not a framework, it is reality we are running in our company. So I'll build a sequence of concepts where I will try to give you exactly the points which are valid for all businesses. And if any of the businesses, I don't know if you have family businesses here or if you work already somewhere, but this is applicable to your daily job. This is applicable to running a company, no matter the size. So firstly, and I'll try to be interactive. The audience is big, but I think the acoustics are good, so we can kind of do a questions and answers session too. And I'll try to ask a question. When planning strategically for the next several years, what is the most important thing a company should answer? Anybody? What is the most important thing a company should answer while planning for next, 5 years, strategic plan? What is the mission? How do you know that? You listened to some of my previous talks. That's cool. This is absolutely correct. So the most important thing, in my opinion, is understanding why the company exists. Now, when we say why the company exists, it means, the company does not exist just for earning money, because the company does not have one single stakeholder, somebody who wants to earn money on this company. The company has many stakeholders. And if not all the stakeholders are happy, then the company will not be able to earn money or be successful. Now, how to make sure that all stakeholder interests are aligned is, in my opinion, to answer the question, why does the company exist? Now, why TBC exists, right? We answered this question. We are answering this question many years, and the cycles are, I would say, 3 to 5 years. So every 3 to 5 years, we revisit this statement and we try to understand, is this statement still valid? So for 15 years, starting from early 2000s until 2015-16, TBC basically was saying, we exist because we want to create opportunities for people and businesses in Georgia. And then afterwards, basically, everything we've been doing was going through this lens. Is this creating opportunities for people, right? Is this creating anything which adds value to people's daily lives? Then, in 2016, basically, and this is the period where, not only in Georgia, but also in the region, digitalization became one of the biggest topics, right? Because the digital environment is creating many opportunities and many things, and many different types of opportunities. We understood that, many companies are shifting their strategy to simplicity. And we understood that the key to the simplicity, one of the keys to the simplicity, is digital services. And as we were moving massively into digital, we said, why don't we make sure that everything we do will make people's life easier and simpler. Of course, if you go around many global companies, you will see that many companies are saying this. I mean, lots of companies are saying this, and this is valid because when making things simpler, what you do basically is you save people's time, right? So in our case, for instance, once we moved to digital, now in Georgia, approximately 95% of all transactions we do with our customers in the bank are done out of the branches. So people do not come to the bank anymore. They do everything through their mobile app. Literally everything. Only 3% to 5% of transactions and services are being done in offline infrastructure, which is branches. In our case, 95% is done digitally. In Uzbekistan, 100% of transactions are done digitally. Now, what does this mean is that we don't spend people's time on coming to the branch, waiting in the line, right, talking to a banker, then leaving the branch, then going back to your destination and all this stuff. So it saves, bless you, it saves dramatically lots of time, nerves, and this time can be redeployed to something else, right? So you can be with your family, you can do more at your office, or you can just enjoy more things. So that's why, now I put it in a very simple way, but making people's life easier became a direction, a thought process for us. And we said that everything we do should make or should contribute to making people's life easier. So that's why the question, why the company exists, somehow shapes the mentality of the company afterwards. Because if you make sure that you form this statement, which is called mission statement 2, correctly said, but I prefer calling it question why. And you ask this question every time, why do we exist? Why do we exist? Why are we doing this project? So every meeting, for instance, when it starts, we try to ask the question, why are we meeting? Why are we doing this stuff? If we are doing this stuff, is it making people's life easier? So you channel all your thoughts through the lens of the question, why do you exist? And of course, if you are sure about the answer, and you have somehow engraved this answer into every wall and every statement and every process, then basically you would make sure that at least some part of real life of the company would be supporting this statement and would be really making people's life easier. Now, let's understand how this basically goes to the next stage, which is vision statement, right? And this is why I asked the board, so I'll write this thing. So why is the first question, and the second question is how. So in other words, this is mission, and this is vision. So basically, this answers why we exist, and this answers how we do things so that we can achieve why we exist. Okay? So if I want to make people's life easier, then I should understand how I should make people's life easier. Right? In our case, we answered this through digital transformation. So basically we said, if we want to make people's life easier, what do we have? We are offering banking products, loans, deposits, transfers, payments, and all this related stuff. And how can we make it in a simpler way, right? The way that people say, yeah, it's so easy to do these things at TBC. So we said the answer is digital, the answer is mobile phone, because mobile phone is the only thing we carry always with us nowadays, right? We don't carry anything else. Clothes and mobile phone. That's why in the mobile phone, basically, we try to have everything inside. Our communication instruments, our content, right? Our emails, our, banking instruments, our, gaming platforms, everything is in the mobile. So we said, if we make mobile as our only and main channel of delivering the services, then we will make sure that we are making people's life easier, because mobile is always with the customer. The customer doesn't have to leave his own house or office to achieve what he wants in regards of TBC, which is get banking services. And there is no person in between the person and the bank. It's just the mobile interface. And the most, user-friendly experience is to have things done by your own self, right? By the way, there is a global trend, and one of the initial starters of this global trend was the company IKEA, it's off topic, do it yourself. I don't know if you know it, or you read about it, or you learned about it, but this is the huge trend where people, especially the generation of millennials and Gen Z, I think we have both of these generations here in this class, they prefer doing things by themselves. They don't want anybody in between of themselves and the process of the product, right? They want to do it themselves, and that's where the enjoyment comes from and the engagement, so to say. So we said, if this is the trend for modern population, and they are doing it because they prefer to do it themselves and save time, save resource, enjoy the process, this means making people's life easier, so why don't I help through my mission and then through, and let me come to the third question, what is mobile app? So why don't we develop a mobile app which will have everything inside, and we will deliver our products through this, right? So this is how, in a very simple way, our strategy works, TBC Group strategy, and this is nothing unique. If you go around and search for this basically framework, this is a very practical framework used by many, many companies in the world, and this is how we structure our thinking, right? Making people's life easier through digitalization. How digitalization? What? Mobile app. Very simple. Why? At the end of the day, is do-it-yourself trend. Because people prefer to do things themselves, and they want to save time, nerves, their basically most important resources on achieving what they want. In our case, they want to achieve quick, seamless product experience, which is transferring the money from one person to another, getting a loan or whatever, right? And this is how it works. Now, how this is linked to branding, because I have to come to the topic of our meeting, right? How do you guys think this is linked to branding? Open question to the audience. Okay. And? So it is linked, this is somehow linked through people who are doing it, all right?
Their organization has its mission, right?
Uh-huh.
And vision, of course, and it's also everything.
Okay, so branding is linked to this because it's people who are creating this brand, and these are the people who are basically somehow aligned with the mission. But are these people only internal staff, the team, or these are also the external people?
Customers.
Sorry?
Customers.
Customers. And why customers?
Because they are the people who choose to buy this brand.
They are people who choose to buy the brand.
Yeah.
And why would they choose to buy the brand?
Because of the workers in the company. So.
Because of the people who are representing the brand.
Yeah.
Correct, but what else?
If they know the mission of the company,
If they know the mission of the company?
they will persuade and pay the company what type of opportunity for companies and their service or the product, right?
Through the mission.
Yeah, because customer needs are appropriate to the company's mission.
I don't hear you.
Customers' needs are appropriate to the company's mission.
Customers' needs are aligned with the company's mission. Okay, any other ideas? Yeah.
I guess the customers should somehow link this company with some of their needs that they said before. For example, talking about digitalization related with banking or simplicity, they should think about your company as a model. For example, talking about mobile phones, we actually think the brand of iPhone. But talking about banking system with digitalization should be related with, for example, TBC.
But why are you buying iPhone? Why are you paying at least $300 more for the same gadget almost? Because of the quality, but what else? What is the brand in case of iPhone? Apple is clear, but what is the brand? What stands behind? When you hear Apple, what do you hear? What do you feel right away? Sorry? How? Well, I mean, what creates this reputation? Trust? Trusting what? What is the brand? We are rotating around it, but not going in the middle. The quality of the product, but what else?
Design.
The vision. What is the vision? What is the vision of the future? How do they want to do what?
How do they see the world?
How do they see the world and how do they want to change the world? So what we actually love in Apple is not the quality, is not the trust, because Samsung is of a better quality than Apple phone. And Apple is using Samsung screens to produce iPhone, by the way. So it's not only the quality, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's exactly that. So what I love in Apple, and I use Apple for last, I don't know, when 2007 was the first iPhone, and I'm on iPhone ever since. So what I love in Apple is that Steve Jobs, back many years ago, persuaded me as one of his millions of customers that the mission of Steve Jobs to change the world is so grand that I want to follow that mission too, by being part of his community, which is Apple lovers. All right? So, if a company has a very distinct understanding of why it exists, it builds its products based on this understanding, it communicates the mission through the brand, then most probably there will be customers who will be buying their products. All right? Because these customers, in the moment of buying the product, they would join the Apple community so that they can feel that they are contributing to the mission through holding in their hands the brand of this company which has this mission. You understood the linkage? All right? Now, where does here come the corporate culture? Where is here corporate culture? Mission what?
Digitalization.
Digitalization what?
You collect different cultures, right? I mean, it's a connection.
No. Sorry? Values. True, but what comes after the values? Who creates the product? How? Creators, right? Who are the creators? Cleaners, right? So, if we have the mission, then if we have, let's say, the product, because I'm jumping through this, if we have afterwards the brand, then we should have culture, and then we will have customers. Did you understand the sequence? And if one of these components is not working, then the whole sequence is not working. This is how I believe, at least. So, whatever the mission, let's go to a totally different industry, mountaineering, alpinism, right? We have to climb, what's the name? Chimgan? Chimgan, the highest mountain here, right? We have to climb Chimgan. Our mission is to conquer the highest mountain of Uzbekistan, and by this, I don't know, do a strong statement from the very top of the country. This is our mission, because we want to change something. This is the mission. The product is the fact itself that we do a statement from Chimgan, right? Then we will be telling around that we are organizing an expedition to Chimgan because we want to do a statement, because we have a mission of transforming the country, and the voice will be heard if we climb the highest mountain, right? We need proper people around us, because alone we won't be able to climb there, right? So we are, but who are we going to the mountains with, right? I don't know if you've been to mountains. I've been to mountains many times when I was younger in Caucasus. When you go to mountains, you need to have people with whom you can walk slowly, persistently, svyaske, you can walk. Because if you fall, he will be holding you with his rope. So you basically are securing on both ends. You are securing him, he is securing you. Right? Which means culture. If you are of different cultures, you won't be able to walk with somebody for 10 hours. Because he will be maybe too quick or too slow. He will be maybe always complaining. You will be tired of it. Or you will be complaining and he will be tired of it, and so on and so on, right? So we have to have proper people who are aligned all the way up with the mission and the whole sequence. And then at the end, we will have customers. Customers of this thing is customers of our product, which is the listener of our message. Right? So it can be applied, this whole sequence to anything. That's why when we talk about branding, I do not believe in branding without corporate culture. Because basically you should always understand that there is an exercise how to bring the mission, brand and culture together, and then to get the customers is called positioning. Right? You learned this word in marketing, I guess, right? So positioning is telling to the outer world whatever I have been talking to you now. And making sure that this thing tells the whole thing in a way that the customer buys the product. Okay? This is nothing else. This is the positioning statement. I mean, the positioning statement is something which tells that I am of this mission. I am doing this because of this. If you believe in me and you have the same mission, or you like my mission and you want to support me, then please join me. This is how I am. This is my culture. These are my brand attributes. You heard about this, right? Also in marketing, the brand attributes. This is how I talk. This is how I'm dressed. This is what I like. This is my hobbies. So on and so on. And this all then is translated into, this is my product. Because this kind of culture created this kind of brand, and this brand created the product. And then you as the customer will join me and help me to generate what? Dollars to create another product. Because I need to exist, right? I need to pay salaries. I need to have costs to create the product and so on and so on. So this cycle rotates if all the components are done right. Okay? Questions on this, and then I'll elaborate a bit more on other concepts. If you don't ask questions, then I will think that you didn't understand anything. So
yeah, in the listing, for example, you said 100% is online, especially in Webster. So how the organization how?
can you speak up a bit, please?
You said that in Uzbekistan, this is fully online.
Yes?
So
Fully mobile.
fully mobile. So how the organizational culture since it's fully online?
In which terms?
As a whole, like let's say employees.
I mean, our people know why we exist. They know exactly why we exist. They know exactly that we are doing everything in a way to make people's life easier. All right? They clearly understand that this is being done through simple, seamless, and digital services. And they know that our product is the mobile banking app. All right? So when they come to the company, they understand that this is the sequence of things. And the culture, basically, is aligned in a way that people can be aligned with this mission. And that's why, basically, we are positioning ourselves on the target market, which is ready. Because then, through word of mouth and through good products, you are forcing the adoption. And that's why we started positioning ourselves with the younger population or with digital savvy population. Initially, we were doing just digital advertising. Digital advertising means that there is somebody who knows how to download. So it means that he knows what is an app, which means he has a smartphone. And it means that he has other apps too. So we entered that segment, and then we only opened our showrooms, which are offline locations in the regions. And there we are onboarding the customers, meaning educating the customers. Right? So you're right, it is very difficult. I mean, for instance, the age bucket of 50 and above, I think we will have least number of customers in that age bucket. But it's not a problem. The country is big. For us, I mean, the average age of Uzbekistan is 29 years old. 29. So it's very young. The smartphone penetration in Uzbekistan is above 50% of the population. So if you take the population out, which is 50 years and above, then you will have almost 100% of penetration of smartphones in the younger generation. So that's why it is not an issue here, but generally the education goes through target segmentation. Okay?
Strategic question that can be beneficial for our university. So in the world of business, there is an understanding of the threat of new entrants. You slightly mentioned about the new entrants, right? So we as a university, and I'm sure that you as a bank, you also monitor the industry and you make
the strategy is a topic which has a characteristic of several years. So you have always strategic cycles. In our case, strategic cycles are approximately 3 years each. The outcome always is number of customers. So the strategy when we started operating in Uzbekistan back in 2019 was to acquire as many customers as possible. So we acquired the majority stake in PayMe, and PayMe doubled its customer base. We invested a lot of money in customer acquisition in TBC, and we have, as I mentioned, 1 million customers. So in the initial 3 years, the strategy is called customer acquisition. The next 3 years will be called product proficiency. Because now, next year, most probably we will totally move into offering really unique product experience to the market. I will not mention exactly what and how, but as we have PayMe and TBC Uzbekistan present here, and some other smaller companies, basically we will integrate all these to offer even a better service to the customer. So that's why, every cycle of the strategy has its major accent, and there cannot be 20 accents, right? I mean, it's one major accent what you do. For TBC Group, the strategic accent now is international expansion. So, but TBC Group in Uzbekistan currently runs the strategy of customer acquisition. Okay? For the next 3 years, in my opinion, we will be focusing on product proficiency, meaning the products should be the best on the market in many ways. Okay? There is one more concept I want to introduce, and in my opinion is very important. And I think it helps in this discussion and in practice a lot. And this is also something I use frequently. So, and it's linked with branding and strategy. And the concept is called Aida. Do you know this?
Yes.
So what is it?
Attention, interest,
Uh-huh.
desire, action.
Perfect. Why is it important in this concept?
We,
Sorry?
in order to make our customers interested in our product and then get the sales done.
Okay. So everything what I told you should be put in practice through Aida. So when I was telling you about bringing the mission to the attention of my customers, right? Is this one. When I told you that the customers should understand the values of our brand and follow us, right? Interest is exactly understanding the values of our brand. Because I can bring the mission to the attention of my customers, but I may not explain it properly. So positioning becomes important in terms of interest. Once I develop the interest through the product value proposition, which is this one, I should somehow move the customer to the stage of desire and action. And action is buying my product, right? And this is, in my opinion, the most single important framework in business and marketing. You can put this thing through everything, and it works. Attention, interest, desire, and action. We are working for certain actions. The actions create value. If we don't do actions, there is no value created, right? We are not alone in business, so we have to bring attention, arise attention, or how you say it in English, and then put the team, the customers, through the stages. Okay? So if this all was clear, and the sequence was clear, then how to bring it to the reality is through Aida. Okay? I'm mostly done, so basically we can spend some time on questions and answers. again.
Do you have any further plans to expand the TBC Bank service
To other countries?
to Uzbekistan or even further to other?
In Uzbekistan, we are already in all regions. So basically, we cover approximately 80% of the population. And we opened in this summer and fall approximately 10 showrooms. So we are in 10, each showroom per region, we are in 10 regions, and plus we are in Tashkent, and so on and so on. Uzbekistan, I think we are well covered. Now we are working on other countries. I cannot tell you which country specifically, but 2022 will be one another country. Yeah. And also with the same model, digital bank. Yeah.
You mentioned for several times that the downloads were about 1 million.
1.23.
Yeah, but how can you, can you measure your success just with download?
No.
Because mostly people sometimes just download the app and do nothing with it.
I agree. I mean, the downloads is the good measure at the very initial stage of your existence, because you understand how massively people are adopting your service or trying it out. The next stage of development tells you that you have to engage with the customers, and this is exactly where you look at net downloads, which is how many apps were deleted and how many are still in the phone of the customers, because we see how many apps were deleted. And the net downloads are less, of course. Then comes another metric, which is monthly active users, MAU. So you track how many customers you have who used your app at least once. Then, to make it even more difficult, there comes a metric which is daily active users, to see how many customers are there who are using your app on a daily level. And then you compare your MAU to DAU, so it's called MAU to DAO ratio, where you measure it to understand really the daily usage of your app. For instance, the daily usage is the most important metric for Facebook or Google or, I don't know, other apps which exist, right? For Amazon, for instance, daily usage is not that crucial because people do not buy on a daily basis on Amazon, right? So monthly active is very important. For banks, MAU, I think, is the most important. But you are right, this was a correct question. I mean, at the initial stage, downloads can make you happy, but on a later stage, you have to understand that downloads cost you money, because this is advertising money you're spending. So basically, you should shift to engagement. Yeah.
As well as digitalization, there is another new phenomenon in the banking sphere, which is Islamic banks. It's not present still in Uzbekistan, but I wonder what kind of benefits do they have that TBC banks don't have.
Islamic banking, which is Sharia-based banking, Islamic finance, Islamic banking, basically is a totally separate type of banking activity, which is well established in many Islamic countries, and this is just another type of banking business. I would call it this way. In Uzbekistan, there is no legal framework for that, but there is an increased interest for that, because people are more and more getting aware that Islamic banking exists. And what is Islamic banking? It is type of banking which is religiously allowed, in a simple way. So it is something which your religion tells that you can do and you cannot do. That's it. For instance, I was interested in Islamic banking back many years ago. So for instance, one simple concept is that you cannot earn money on money. You cannot earn money on money. So you can earn money on real stuff. So you cannot be separated from the risk. You should share the risk. So we should be in this together. Right? And these kind of principles, which are, in my opinion, frequently very human and very adequate, you know. But this is not how most of the world's banking works. So I think TBC Group is not ready for this. I mean, we don't have Islamic banking practices yet. But I think the more we go into regions where Islamic banking is present, we will have to think about it. For instance, in Uzbekistan, I'm already thinking about it. So, halalni produkty, да? I mean, there are also halalni banking produkty. And we have to think about that. Yeah, somebody had a question there, yeah.
Offering the digital banking, what is more important, the financial department or IT department for you?
This is not a good question, to tell you honestly. This is not a good question because there is no single function in the organization which is more important or less important. If there is a function, then it is vital for the existence of the organization. Because if it is not vital, then you should be spending money on this function. Finance is doing their job, IT is doing their job.
But in your banking, IT department is more important than other banks. Simple.
In our banking model, technology is more important than in other banking models because they use less technology. That is true. This is true. But this is not that in our bank, finance guys are losers and the technology guys are winners. No. Both of them are super important. Yep.
What is your favorite instructional books or resource? I mean, if people have to teach themselves, what resource would you suggest?
I studied my master's, I did in Madrid back in 2007. And it was one of the world's best business schools back then, blah, blah, blah. And I was doing an MBA. And I was amazed, I was 24, I was amazed when I got there, and the whole year, there was a lady standing in the entrance, 8 o'clock in the morning, and this was honestly every class, every day, working day. And she was handing us, every day, Wall Street Journal and Financial Times. Back then there was no Facebook. Facebook was just starting. And all this hype of digital media was not existent, right? Everything was offline. So why I told you this is that they taught me that I should be absorbing information from any channel possible, because the more informed you are, the more competitive you are. Now, nowadays, you may read Financial Times, you may use Google News function to get whatever content you want. You may subscribe on Facebook to content, you may subscribe on LinkedIn to content, and whatsoever. There are tons of things. So I would say there is no single formula which is good for your answer. I mean, basically there are many resources. There are many digital video streaming resources where you can teach yourself. Would it be Khan Academy or others, you know? Coursera, Udemy, I mean, many. So, and books, I mean, again, you know, I mean, for me, the question about books is important, but it was actual back 5 years ago. Nowadays, the content is becoming quicker. Meaning that, yes, you should be reading books, and there are certain books which you should read and really analyze line by line. But to be informed, you don't need to read books. You can save time and read papers, listen. For instance, YouTube. I am using YouTube now a lot to listen to people who do business. And on different YouTube channels, they discuss things. And only listening to 1 hour of a discussion of two super smart people, I may get 1,000 more insights rather than reading just one book. Business book, I'm saying now business books. Because, I mean, these two guys will never write a book, but they built, I don't know, whatever, Amazon. Right? The key concept is to be curious and to want to be kind of, you know, informed. One, two, three. Yes, he was the first one. No, you were the third one. He is the first one.
Do you think national wallet will be safe or crypto in future?
I think crypto is at this point of time, crypto is not a safe instrument for investments because it's very volatile, but it is a safe instrument for exchange. So you can buy things with crypto, you can buy crypto and then exchange with crypto. This is nothing problematic there. I mean, I think just investing into crypto, if you are not ready to wait for quite some time, may be a very volatile and risky instrument. That's the whole thing. But I'm for crypto. I don't think crypto is evil, so I think it's fine. You are the fourth. Two. You had the same question. Okay. Please.
I had a question. Doing the initial research before integrating in Uzbekistan, like, what was the most promising aspects of our market? Like, did you thought that the market will develop well and there is a need for a digital banking in Uzbekistan? Because I'm interested in how it started.
35 million people. Simple. And every year you're adding 500,000 people. That's it. And you are 29 years old. This is the one and single most important parameter, because there are countries which are more developed, more stable, more diversified, but they are so small. I mean, there is no sense of going to Slovenia, which is a super good country, very digitalized, but 2 million people. So of course here troubles and difficulties are present, because many things are now developing, but it offers you a fantastic potential. So that's the point. Sorry, you were before.
For example, when you do a marketing plan for the new target market, and you maybe do like different analysis, let's say SWOT analysis, right? Strengths and weakness, opportunities. And can you tell me the strength and the weakness of your brand or of this market?
Firstly, in real life, the things we are taught in business schools are not always done. Sorry, this is a real life lecture. You are number 5. Just give me 1 second. Because SWOT analysis, we do SWOT analysis, but we do it only once a year when we are starting the so-called strategic planning cycle, which is in August every year. And we do it on a group level. That's very important, because you should not be applying everything that you learned if you don't need it. You have to be the main insight of business education is that you have to be practical. You do have these huge 2 suitcases of knowledge in your hands, but you have to be practical in understanding what you should really use and when. This is one. Now, answering the weaknesses and strengths, at this point in time in Uzbekistan, I think the strength is that we are a new entrant, and we are fresh on the market, and our business model is as it is. The weakness is that basically we are still stabilizing our app, we are still, expanding, we are still basically not having the whole product portfolio which we need. For instance, we do not have foreign currency cards, and so on and so on. But this is not a problem, because in a year's time we will have all this, and then we'll close this gap. But I think the weakness part is the product portfolio, and the strength part is the positioning, Sorry, you were, I think, the next one, right? Somebody there was...
I think it's time now to move on to interview part.
Uh-huh. Okay. You are my boss.
Sorry, I was 5th.
Yes, you are the 5th one, that's why.
Can you give it I think mission plays a big role, another component in your formula. Just, can you give some examples? What are good missions? What are bad missions? Just examples that you know.
I don't know bad examples because I do not remember them. I know good examples. For instance, the mission of Google is very impressive. It is to organize world's information and make it globally accessible. Because it shows you ambition, it shows you the massiveness of the mission, and it is very pure mission because everybody wants to organize information and make it accessible for the development of people. So, in my opinion, a good mission is a mission where you see that it is actionable. So it is concrete. So I have a mission to inspire people, let's say, right? I mean, what is my mission now in the class is to bring some energy to you, right? Nothing else. I mean, there is no reason why I will be doing this lecture for 1.5 hours, right? I have lots of things to do on my table. So the mission I'm bringing to you is to inspire. So maybe you can do after my lecture, go and inspire others, right? Because you will understand it was cool to listen to Kurdiani, I hope, right? And then you will say, okay, why don't I tell something which he said to my friends too, who were not on the lecture? That's why a good mission is a mission which is very concrete and actionable. All right?